Neil from Magpie Brewing. Today we're going to talk about a brew, Patersbier. I brewed the Patersbier a few weeks ago. It's come up really nice, clear, real clear. It's an ale. Patersbier is what's known as a monk's lawnmower ale. So it's a light Belgian ale. So Patersbier is also known as father's beer in Dutch. So we've brewed it. We're dads. Let's have a drink. It's tasty beer. Very light. So target was 10.51. We hit 10.51 and ferment out to 10.11, which we fermented out to 10.12. It was in the fermenter for just under 2 weeks, as all my beers are, and then I cold crashed them. We fermented it with W yeast 3787, which is Trappist high gravity. I done a 2 litre starter for the 60 litres or 42 litres that I got in the fermenters. So that's the end result. Gee, I'm happy with it. Have brewed it before, but the SM40 just gives it a little bit of body. I chose the SM40, which is a type of Munich malt. It's an Australian Voyager craft malt, and I chose it. As I say, I had it down there, and I thought just a bit of Munich or Crystal. Don't want to use too much, really, when I brew with Pilsner malt. Like with Pilsner malt, I'd normally put something more substantial in, but this coming out a great golden colour. I'm really starting to like these Wyman German malts. This is about the 3rd brew I've used them on, and I really like them. They give a nice malt, and they're good to brew with. So anywho, we'll get on, and I'll show you how I knocked this out and brewed her up, and there could be a few tips in the brew video. Neil from Magpie Brewing, enjoying a father's beer. Enjoy, guys, and I'll see you in the brewery. Today I've got 2 helix coils, so I'll be coming out of the tap through a counterflow chiller, and I'll put the helix coils, I've just put them together, and they hopefully they trap a lot of the brake and the rubbish. I'm not using the false bottom again today, so we'll see how it goes. There's the helix coils. I've just wound them around a T-piece, a stainless steel T-piece. There's 2 there. I've just got a stainless steel joiner, and they pretty much cover the bottom. Hopefully they stay in that formation, and we'll whirlpool and we'll get some stuff in the middle just to look at them, and we'll see how they go today. As normal, I'm going to do a manual boil up. So our temperature is 65 degrees for this one. I want 3000 watts. I only want this one for 1 minute. Now with the Guten, when it gets to the 1 minute, it'll wait for me to put the grain in and press start before it actually starts its minute. So I normally leave the grain in there, sometimes 5-6 minutes. I try to get the grain bed up around 60 degrees, and that's why I put the grain in around 60 odd. So, and I'll get a pH where we're trying to get a pH today of 5.4 with this brew. And the other thing I'm doing, I've decided to go 4 litres, 4 litres per kilo for the grain. So it'll be a fairly thin mash, but I just want to see what the efficiency is as opposed to 2.73. And of course what that'll do, that'll lower my sparge, so the sparge will only turn out to be, I'll just start this, the sparge will only turn out, it's only about a 15 litre sparge instead of a 28 litre sparge. And we'll just see if we get any efficiency or whatever out of it. Okay, well we'll let that get up to temperature and then we'll come back when we're putting the grain in. So there we go, we've hit 65 degrees and I've mashed in. I'll put the grains in at about 60. I've got the pump flowing at about half. This mash, I haven't used the Weinmann Extra Pilsner before. Fairly big grains. I did mash them. It's sort of a coarse mash, but I thought it was a good mash. So you can see by the 2 rings there on the overflow pipe. It's one good thing about using an overflow pipe. On the Guten 40 I done away with it. On this one it doesn't seem to get in the way as much, and if you put it down you can keep an eye on your flow, and the flow's pretty good. The flows come up to a point. I'm about half on the pump as I say, but it doesn't seem to have got any higher, so I'd reckon I'm going to do this 1/2 pump, which doesn't matter as long as the grain gets through the grain bed. It doesn't matter how fast you mash. I try not to use the overflow, but I'll slow the pump down before I let it go down the overflow, but that's just me. So we'll let this go now. I'll kick it off and we'll let it go. It's a 60-minute mash, and we'll do a couple of tests there to make sure it converts, which I'm pretty sure it will, being a Weinmann yeast grain, sorry. And then we'll go into mash out. So there's not really much more to show you really on these brew days. I am using Brewer's Friend as my timer. I use Brewer's Friend as a software program, and this will only be the second time I've actually used it as a timer, and it seems to work pretty well. I'll get used to it, as we all do. Okay, so we'll let this mash on and we'll come back and see how it's going there shortly. So here we are, we're back about halfway through the mash, and it's clearing up really nicely. I'm getting a few floaty bits, so I must have I might have done a bit finer a mill of the grain than I thought. There's not a real lot there though, but you can see the finger holes there, finger grips of the top plate. I still use the top plate, so that's coming up nice. I'm almost tempted to do an iodine test just to see how much conversion we've got. Not that I'll, even if it's converted, I'll still let it go the 60 minutes. But yeah, it's beautiful golden colour, and looking forward to it. Yeah, we might do an iodine test. I'll come back to you with that. There's the results of our iodine test. Now it's a little bit darker. So it's very nearly converted, but I did get a few of them bits in the iodine test, which is always going to show up a little bit darker. But you can see the edges; it's quite clear. Just want to show you the changes to additions of pH when you use salt additions. So this was just the water after I put all my salt additions and lactic acid in. So as you can see, it's 3.9 pH, which is extremely low. I start with RO my RO water has a 0 TDS. I've got a 0 TDS filter on it. So everything I do is, this is where I start from. And 21 degrees, 3.9 now, the pH. So we'll do a pH reading. I've got one cooling down at the moment of the mash, and as you'll see, hopefully we get about 5.3. Well, 5.4 is the target. It'd be really nice to hit a target. I think I'd have a beer if I hit a target. See what happens. So I went out and made a new purchase. I've been buying the tilts. I've got 2 tilt hydrometers of the smaller, just the normal tilts. And I noticed there that Beer Co had the Tilt Pros in stock, so I wanted, oh well, I ordered it over the internet of course, and it's arrived. So I'll be using that in one fermenter today, the ordinary tilt in the other one, and it'll be interesting to see if all the claims are true about the tilt. Really, they claim better accuracy and accuracy to the 3rd point, so it won't be 1.040, it'll be 1.0400. I've never relied on the tilts for the original gravity. All my tilts seem to be out, so sometimes by 2 or 3 points, other times by a lot more, by 6 points. But what I've found with them is once the beer starts to ferment, they catch up, and by the end of fermentation they're pretty much spot on, or I found them spot on anyway. I know a lot of people haven't, and the hydrometer market at the moment is just bustling, you know, like you've got the spindle, you've got Kegland have just bought this pill, the rack pill out, Tilt Pros come out, there's other ones out there too, but they're the ones that come to mind. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one goes in the ferment. I'll put this one in the stainless steel conical fermenter from Keg King I've got, because I won't have cooling coils in that, so it'll just get, it'll be able to swim around freely. And I'll put the little guy in the, I'm going to use a snub nose fermentosaurus on the other, and I'll put the little guy in that, and that'll have cooling coils in it, so it may get caught up or hampered. We'll see how they go, and I'll get back to you. When I do the beer taste, I'll get back to you and let you know how the tilts went. And I do monitor the tilts in Brewer's Friend. I really like the graph and the setup of the ease of setup in Brewer's Friend, and I run them off a Raspberry Pi Zero W, and it seems to run quite well. The program's pretty good. So the mash is over. How clear is that? Beautiful. You can see the top plate there very clearly now. Lovely golden colour. On the Guten 70, this is the 3rd time I've used it, and I've used 1200 watts each time for the mash on the system, and it's held the temperature really well. So yeah, I'm very happy with the colour. Hope the flavours is nice. Anyway, it'll be a few weeks before we try that out, but I'm very sure we'll try it. The Trappist Lawnmower Brew. Who doesn't love a lawnmower brew? Okay, so it's the end of the mash there. I've got some, I used a thing to get it out. We'll get it before it does too much. Iodine test. Put a fair bit in there. I should, hang on, we'll even that out a bit. There we go. I'm supposed to put a couple of drops of iodine in. But of course, yeah, I sort of played around with it. But as you can see there, the darkness is not in the iodine. Should we have another go, or should we use the dropper maybe? There we go. How's that? So conversion's well and truly complete. And it was complete long before the 60 minutes, I think, it converted. The SM40 has got a long conversion time, but I've only really got it in there for a little bit of colour and a little bit of flavour. So really, if I was going to use more of the SM40 from Voyager malts, I'd do a 90-minute mash, because it takes a fair while to convert. But I just wanted the colour, a little bit of the flavour, so I'm quite happy with that. So now we'll move on to mash out and see how we go. So I've set the machine up there, as you can see. So I'm set up for 77 degrees. I do this full bore, 20 minutes. It's got the 72.7 already, nearly 73 degrees. It doesn't take it long to heat up this much water, or wort, soon to be wort, and then we'll get into mash out. So there we go, guys. Sorry it's a bit shaky. That's our mash pH, 5.3. It's down to 18 degrees, so I normally try to take them at 20 degrees, but I was a bit slow with this one. So that's pretty good. I'm quite happy. 5.3. I was after 5.4, 5.3, 18 degrees. Yeah, happy with that. So slowly getting these salts and additions worked out. I use the Brewer's Friend again for my salts and additions. It's a nice program, I just like it, and I hate using different programs for the same stuff, so I just stick with one program and make it work. I have tried Brewfather, and I have paid the subscription to Brewfather. I don't know, I feel more comfortable with Brewer's Friend, even though it's a bit dearer. I mean, another $14 a year is not that dear. Well, just have a look at that. Just sitting here doing a Saturday morning brew. Postie comes. Look at that beautiful stuff there. Collingwood membership gear. Got a hat, scarf, a card, and my 12-year badge. Oh, Collingwood Magpies forever. Get that up, you will. Okay, our mash out's over. So, I know with some of these bigger systems, you need 2 people or a bit of assistance getting the grain ton out, mash ton out. On the Guten 70 you got a 3-step, so it's not too bad for one person to get it out. And as I say, if I can avoid hitting that canoe above there, I should be able to get it out, up and pretty good. So let's have a crack at it and get this grain out and do our sparge. I'll just get my thermometer out. Don't want to damage that. I'll have to go back to Steve at the brew man and get another one. It's a wonder I haven't broke it yet. It's on 3 brews in with it. But anyway, so I find the easiest way to do this is to twist as I turn and just get the first level up to the next level. There we go, that's better. And this is the one I gotta not hit this old girl. Let it drain a bit. And up we go. It's a bit slower sparge, this one. So maybe I did mill these grains fairly well. My end of mash, I take an end of mash figure just for something to do, 1.061, and then my sparge is 14.5 litres. So we'll see what we come down to for a pre-boil. Okay, we're into the boil now. As you can see, got a pretty good roll and boil going. About 102 degrees, 101 degrees, even though the Guten says 100. When it first boiled, I did get a bit of a boil up. Nothing dangerous though, there's only 51 litres of water in there, or 50 litres of water in there. So it's a 90-minute boil, this one. I did have the SARS hops going in first wort. Now I changed my mind on that with a 90-minute boil. Normally I just thought they'd be in there too long and could impart just a little too much bitterness. So I'm going to be putting them in like an ordinary bitterness hop. So they'll go in at 60 minutes. And then I've got the Hallertau middle fry, and that'll go in at 10 minutes to go in the boil with the whirl flock. I do use a hop spider, but I'll come back when we put the hops in, and it does cause some reaction with the boil, but as you can see, really nice boil. Hit the mark there too. Pre-boil was 1.046, and that's what we were after. So maybe I did get that crush right. Maybe I didn't. We'll know at the end of the boil. So far good. We're having a good brew day so far. I hope I haven't jinxed myself with that one. So I'll come back to you when we're going to drop them SARS in. Ready to go. I'll just throw the SARS hops in. So there's 60 grams of SARS. And we'll throw that in and let them do a little bit of bitterness. They've only got an alpha of 5.2, I think they were. They're the T45 SARS hops. So they got a little bit more kick than a normal SARS T90 hop has. 10.51, so hit our numbers, which is good. It's a great colour. Getting a bit of cold break, of course, but you get that from the counterflow chiller. I don't try to trap it all, it's not too bad actually, that lot. Trickling in. And we got what we wanted, even though we've gone from it now. We ended up with just under 45 litres after the boil. So with our 2.5 litres coming from the tap, that'll give me 42 litres to put in the fermenters, 21 in each. Very nice.